Before we dive into this wild roller coaster of a story about HOA nightmares, sabotage, revenge, and a mailbox built like a tank, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because you are not going to want to miss more insane tales just like this one, where petty neighbors push too far and ordinary people fight back in extraordinary ways. And trust me, this one is going to leave your jaw on the floor. I never thought I would spend so much of my life obsessing over a mailbox. But when you live in a neighborhood ruled by a power-hungry HOA president who thinks she's queen of the cul-de-sac, the simplest things turn into battlefields, and that's exactly what happened to me when Karen, yes a literal Karen, the HOA president, decided my mailbox was the ultimate symbol of defiance against her authority. At first it started small, with little passive-aggressive comments about how my mailbox wasn't aesthetically consistent with the neighborhood standards, which was funny because it was the exact same style as 3 other houses on my street, but the difference was, she had a grudge against me because I once dared to question why our HOA dues had gone up by almost 30% in a year without any visible improvements, and that was apparently enough to land me on her enemy list. So when I refused to replace my perfectly functional mailbox, she took matters into her own hands. Literally, by running it over with her shiny SUV one Tuesday morning. And I know what you're thinking. Did you see her do it? And the answer is yes, I did, and so did my neighbor Jim, who happened to be drinking coffee on his porch. But when I confronted her, she looked me dead in the eye with that smug smile and said, "Accidents happen," as if crushing someone's property in broad daylight was just a minor oopsie. And the HOA board, all her friends and sycophants, backed her up, saying unless I had irrefutable video evidence, there was nothing they could do. So I replaced the mailbox, gritted my teeth, and thought maybe that would be the end of it. But oh no, that was just the beginning, because a week later, the new mailbox was flattened again, and this time there were fresh tire tracks on the grass and a piece of her SUV's broken plastic grille left behind like a calling card. But again she denied it, claiming some reckless teenagers must have done it, and once again the HOA refused to step in, probably laughing about it at their little wine and cheese gatherings. So I decided if they weren't going to help me, I was going to help myself, and that's when the idea struck me. If she wanted to keep running over my mailbox, then maybe it was time to give her something that couldn't be run over. A mailbox so strong, so unyielding, that it would fight back. And I wasn't just thinking about durability, I was thinking about making it bulletproof, literally. Now, I'm not some DIY genius, but I do have a cousin who works in construction and another who's in the military. So after a couple of beers and some brainstorming, we came up with a plan to build a mailbox out of reinforced steel, anchored in concrete 3 feet deep, with a shell casing that could withstand even a rifle shot. And yes, we tested that part on some scrap metal because if I was going to do this, I was going all the way. So over the course of 2 weekends, with my cousin's help and Jim providing snacks and lookout duty, we built what I lovingly called Fort Knox Mailbox, and when it was done, it looked ordinary enough from the outside, just a sleek black mailbox like you'd see in any suburban neighborhood, but beneath the surface, it was a beast, and I almost felt sorry for the first car that tried to test it, almost, because sure enough, 3 days later, at around 6:30 in the morning, I heard the screech of tires, a loud metallic thud, and then the sound of something dragging, and when I ran outside, there was Karen's SUV, hood crumpled, radiator leaking, front bumper hanging on by a thread, and in the middle of the chaos, standing tall and proud, was my indestructible mailbox, not even scratched, and Karen, oh Karen, was red-faced and sputtering, trying to play the victim, shouting about how my mailbox was illegal and dangerous, as if it had attacked her poor defenseless SUV, and within an hour, she had gathered half the HOA board outside my house demanding I remove it. But this time I was ready, because I had recorded the whole thing on a security camera I installed just for this occasion, and when I played back the footage of her swerving intentionally to mow down my mailbox, only for her car to bounce off it like a soda can hitting a brick wall, the smug expressions on the board members' faces vanished, and Jim, bless his soul, laughed so hard he almost choked on his coffee. But the drama didn't stop there, because Karen, being Karen, wasn't about to admit defeat, so she tried a new tactic. Legal threats. She filed a complaint with the city claiming my mailbox was a public safety hazard, and I actually got a letter from the local zoning office asking me to explain why I had installed something so heavily reinforced, and for a brief moment I worried I might have gone too far, But then my cousin who's in construction pointed out that as long as the mailbox met USPS regulations in terms of size and height, there was nothing illegal about the materials used, so I showed the city inspector the specs, and after a thorough check, they declared it perfectly legal, which drove Karen absolutely insane, so she escalated again, this time filing a lawsuit against me personally for emotional distress and property damage, claiming my mailbox had maliciously destroyed her vehicle. And when the case actually made it to small claims court, the judge, a no-nonsense woman with zero patience for theatrics, looked at the footage of Karen plowing into my stationary mailbox and asked, "Ma'am, are you seriously suggesting that this mailbox leapt into your car?" And the entire courtroom burst into laughter, except for Karen who turned beet red, screamed about conspiracies, and stormed out, case dismissed. But the best part. Word of the incident spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. And suddenly I wasn't the villain anymore. I was the guy who finally stood up to Karen, the tyrant of the law, and neighbors who used to avoid eye contact started stopping by to shake my hand, thank me, and even share their own horror stories about her bullying, from fining people for leaving holiday lights up too long to threatening to have someone's dog taken away because it barked too cheerfully, and slowly, a quiet rebellion began to form, and at the next WA election, with the mailbox fiasco still fresh in everyone's mind, Karen was voted out of her position in a landslide, replaced by Jim of all people, who promised to bring fairness and transparency back to the board. And though Karen still lives in the neighborhood, she keeps her distance now, her once pristine SUV replaced by an old beat-up sedan, and every time I walk past my indestructible mailbox, I can't help but smile, because it stands not just as a guardian of my mail, but as a symbol of standing up to bullies, proving that sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting or fighting, but building something so strong that when they try to break it, they end up breaking themselves instead. And if you're wondering whether I ever had to use its bulletproof feature, the answer is no. But knowing it's there makes me sleep a little easier at night. And if this whole saga taught me anything, it's that when life gives you a Karen, sometimes the best solution is a little creativity, a little persistence, and a mailbox that can laugh in the face of SUVs.